Alright, so the beginning of this review was just some vocabulary terms. So number 1 is what? H. Very good. If you did not get it right or if you have questions, let me know. Number 2 is which one? E. Very good. 3 is I. Number 4? G. Number 5? D. Number 6? F. Number 7? B. Very good. 8 and 9. Very good. I'll give you a second with those. Those are all correct. These will all appear on the test tomorrow. They are divided up into a few smaller sections. I think they're grouped in 3, so it's a little easier to do the whole matching thing. But you should expect to see all these definitions tomorrow. Any questions on these? All right, moving right along to number 10. How can I reduce something like that? 45 over 95. There's 2 ways to do it. Divide both sides, or sorry, divide top and bottom by 5. What does that give you? 9 over, I think it's 19.
Yeah.
Or, if you don't like division for some reason, what can you do instead? What's the magical button on the calculator? The ABC button. 45, ABC, 95, enter. It'll give you the answer, 9 over 19. So don't make it harder on yourself than it needs to be. Notice it was written as a fraction, so I kept it as a fraction. Just keep it in the form that it was given to you in. 18 to 3. What do I do with that one? You can still use the ABC button if you want. It'll just give it to you as a fraction, so you have to convert it back to this form. But what number goes into 18 and 3? Close. I know what you mean. You end up getting 6, but 6 doesn't go into 3. I asked you what number goes into 18 and 3. 3. It goes into 18 6 times. It goes into 3 1 time. So here's your simplified ratio. Questions? All right, and then the last one. 7 goes into both of them. So again, you can use the ABC button, 28, ABC 63, or you can just divide both by 7 and you get 4 to 9. What are your questions? All right, on the next section it says the freshman class has 168 girls, 224 boys. Write the ratio of girls to boys. So I want the girl number to be on the top. You could even just use a G if you want. The boy number on the bottom, and then you can reduce. Alright, those are really big numbers. I don't even want to mess with reducing, so I typed it into the calculator. The calculator told me 3 over 4. So that's 3 girls, 4 boys. Good. Notice the directions say simplest form. So you need to make sure you're simplifying. Alright, on the next one we're talking about Paul. He is playing basketball, I believe. He made 14 out of 21 shots. I'm asking you for the ratio of shots made to shots missed. So how many did he make? 14. How many did he miss? 21 is how many shots he took total. So how many did he miss? 7, right? If you shot 21 times and 14 of them went in, the rest of them did not go in. So you had 7 that did not go in, or 7 missed. Now I can reduce that 7 goes into both, so I can divide 14 by 7. I get 2 shots that were made to 1 shot missed. Questions? All right. I sort of covered up the problem on 15, so you might need to read off of your own copy. But this says that Harry has 6 sons and 4 daughters. I want the ratio of sons to children. So how many sons did he have? 6 sons. How many children? 10. Good. It does not ask you anything about daughters. Oops. Even though I'm writing daughters. There should be children. So you have to add the sons and the daughters to get children. Alright, and I can reduce that. 2 goes into top and bottom, so that's going to be 3 sons over 5 children. Questions? Alright, since 16 and 17 are up there, I'm just going to squeeze those in as well. How do I start number 16? What's that process called? Cross multiplying. What's x times 15? Good. What is 10 times 6? 60. And then you divide top and bottom, or sorry, divide both sides by 15. What does x equal? 4. Very good. So number 16 is 4. Questions on 16? Alright, jump over to 17. What is 6 times 3? 18. Good. What is 5 times 2x? 10x. And then what? Divide both sides by 10. So x is 18 over 10. What is 18 over 10 if you type it into the calculator? Or just 18 divided by 10, what is it? 1.8. Very good. Any questions for me for the front page and the first 2 on the back? Now, number 18 is where the harder cross-multiplying problems come into play. Why is this one so hard? What do you need to do? Biggest mistake I saw on the quiz. You forgot to do what? It's right up here. What do you need to do right here? Put parentheses. Both of those terms need to be multiplied by that 4 when you cross multiply. The easiest way to do that is to put it in parentheses and write it out. So you have 4 parentheses x plus 5 equals, when you multiply this way, what's 7 times 6? 7 times 6. Wake up, guys. 42. Very good. Now, the parentheses are telling me to distribute the 4. That's the whole reason we write it with parentheses. So 4x plus 20 equals 42. Now, I've seen students, when they get good at this, they don't even write this step out. They just remember, okay, I need to multiply everything over here by the 4. So if you want to go straight to that step, that's fine. Just remember it's 4 times x and 4 times 5. 4 times x is 4x. 4 times 5 is 20. Alright, then what? Subtract the 20 from both sides. That gives me 4x equals 22. Then what? Divide both sides by the 4. Good. What is 22 divided by 4? 5.5. Good. Questions on that one? All right, same thing over here. We're going to need parentheses around the x minus 2. So I have 3 times x, that's 3x, equals 9 times the quantity, that means you put it in parentheses, x minus 2. The parentheses shows us that we need to distribute. So that's 3x equals 9x minus 18. Now, this one's even harder because now I have x's on both sides. What do I do when I have x's on both sides? I'll give you a hint. We want to move the 9x over with the 3x. How do I do that? What you want to do is you want to do the opposite of the 9x. It's positive right now, so we need to subtract it from both sides. So those go away. I have negative 6x equals negative 18. Then what? This step you guys should know. Divide both sides by the negative 6. A negative divided by a negative is a positive, so what is 18 divided by 6? 3, very good. What are your questions on those? Kind of tricky. You guys ready to move on to the chart? How do I write 3/5 as a decimal? What do I do? You just divide them. When you divide them, you get 0.6. Good. Now, I want to write 0.6 as a percent. What is it? 60%. Good. Now, some students are still unsure how to do both of these steps. To get from here to here, you just type it into the calculator using division. Okay? 3 divided by 5 gives you 0.6. Now, to go from here to here, you just multiply by 100. Multiplying by 100 is the same thing as picking up the decimal and moving it 2 places to the right. We need a placeholder. That's how we got the 60. Any questions on those? All right, how do I write 35% as a decimal? 0.35, good. Same process, but now it's in reverse. So if you want to go from here to here, you're just dividing by 100. Dividing by 100 is the same thing as moving the decimal 2 places to the left. All right, now how do I make 0.35 a fraction? I put 35 over 100 because I have numbers out to the hundredths place. 2 numbers after the decimal means you need 2 zeros in your denominator, so it's a 100. Then I can reduce that. What do you get? Does anyone get 7 over 20? Now, there's actually another way to do it. There's a button on your calculator that's F and then 2 arrows and then a D. Does everyone see that? That button, the F arrow, arrow D, that means changing it back and forth between a fraction and a decimal. So you can do that on any of these between the first 2 columns. The F arrow, arrow D, you can just go back and forth all day long. Okay? So if you want me to help you locate that button and use it, just let me know. I can come around and show you. Any takers? All right, we'll go on to the next one. What's 1.25 as a percent? 125%. Good. What is 1.25 as a fraction? It'd be 125 over what? Careful, how many numbers are after the decimal? There's only 2, so you just need 100. It's just the numbers after the decimal. Now, you can use your calculator to reduce that, or you can divide top and bottom by 25. That gives us 5 over 4. If you had 1 and 1/4, I would also accept that answer here. Questions? All right, starting with 21 all the way to 27, you need the special percent equation is over of equals percent over 100. You need to have this memorized by tomorrow. We learned an alternative form as well. The is number is like the part. The of number is like the whole thing. So is over of equals percent or over 100, or you could think of it as part over whole equals percent over 100. So every time I start one of these, I just set up the proportion. The only thing I know right away is the 100. Everything else you're filling in as you go. So 25 is. So 25 is going to go on my is spot. That's the top left. What percent? So I don't know the percent right now, so I'm going to put a variable up there. Of 30. So my of spot needs a 30 in it. Once you set this up, it's pretty simple. You just cross multiply and solve. 25 times 100 is 2500. 30 times p is 30p. And then I divide both sides by 30. Round to the nearest tenth, you get 83.3%. Questions on that one? Alright, same thing on number 22. Start with your proportion and just fill in the blanks. 72 is, so that's going to go in my is spot. 120%, so that goes in my percent spot. And then of what number? So this is the part I'm looking for. That's my X, or my P, or my T, or whatever you want to use. Questions? Alright, cross multiply. 72 times 100 is 7200. 120 times X is 120X. Divide both sides by 120. Anyone know what you get? 60. Very good. Alright, same old proportion to get us started on the next one. What is, so I don't know my is, 42%, so 42 goes over 100, of 50, so 50 goes in my of spot, and then fill in a variable. Cross multiply here, we get 100x equals 50 times 42. I believe that's 2100. And then when you divide both sides by 100, you should just get 21. Questions? Alright, we're doing the same thing on the next one. The only difference is this next section, it's not written out with like is and of. You need to think more along the lines of part over whole. So I have part over whole equals the percent over 100. On the first one, it says that you have a Boy Scout went door to door selling popcorn. If 46 out of 158 homes bought some popcorn, what percent of the homes bought some popcorn? So, what's the part? The 46. Good. What's the whole number of houses? 158. And then I don't know the percent. That's what I'm trying to find. From there, it's pretty simple. You just cross multiply. That's 4,600 equals 158p. Divide to get p by itself. So p equals 29.1%. Questions? Alright, next one we have Sierra. She wants to get an 84% on a test. So that needs to go above a 100. There's 158 questions on the test. So is that the part of the test or the whole test? The whole test. So that needs to go on the bottom. We're looking for the part she needs to get correct. When you cross multiply here, you get 100x equals, I believe it's 12,600. Can anyone verify that? And then when you divide both sides by the 100, you get 126. Since you know we're talking about questions, you should label it questions. Alright, if you've started to tune me out, tune me back in because this is a really important one. The sales tax and the discounts, you guys, you're getting like so close, you're usually just forgetting one little step at the end or one little step at the beginning, depending on what the problem looks like. So, for number 26, there's a sale on a jacket for 30% off. I want to know what you're going to pay. What does the jacket cost after the discount? So where does the 30 go? Yeah, it goes on the percent. 60 is the original price, so that's going to go on the bottom. And then we're looking for the X. So when I cross multiply, I get 100x equals 1,800. And when you solve for that X, you're getting that X equals 18. Now, is 18 the amount you pay for the jacket? No. What does 18 represent? How much you're going to take off the price of the jacket. So to find the actual final answer, we need to start with the 60 and take the $18 off. That's going to give us $42. So a lot of you will get all the way to the 18 and then you'll stop. Make sure you read the question. Make sure you're answering what it's asking you for. Everybody good on 26? Now 27 is pretty tricky. I'm going to walk you through 27. The way we want to set up 27 is we are looking for the sales tax percent. So I'm looking for the percent. The original price is going to go on the bottom, so 65 goes on the bottom. Now normally we put the amount paid in sales tax on the top. Do we know the amount paid in sales tax? No. We know the total, we know the original. You have to subtract those two numbers to figure out how much was paid in sales tax. When you do that, you get $4.87 was paid in sales tax. So you have to do a little work up front to get the amount of sales tax. Plug that into the proportion and then solve. Now, the questions tomorrow are not necessarily exactly like this. It's going to require you to do a little bit of reading. If you're reading it over and over and over and over and you can't quite comprehend it, bring it up to one of us and we'll read it out loud to you. Sometimes just hearing it out loud makes something click. So do not be shy if you're not sure what they're asking you for. We can help you clarify, okay? So for this one, we're going to cross multiply. We get 478 equals 65p. And then divide by 65. You get 7.35. I've been having you round to just one decimal, so you can round that to 7.4%. So that one's kind of tricky. But again, you get 7.4. Sorry, it's kind of hard to see with that little logo on the bottom. Would anyone like more explanation on any of the percent word problems? This is really something that you guys seem to be struggling with. You can see they're each worth 3 points tomorrow. Partial credit will be an option tomorrow, so even if all you know how to do is like set up the percent proportion, I mean, just do that. You know, the is over of equals percent over 100. Get as far as you can so that we at least know that you had some idea what was going on so we don't have to take all 3 points off. Okay? The more work you can show, the better. Leaving it blank on a partial credit type question is like the worst thing you can do. At least put something down that gives us some indication that you have an idea of what was going on in here the last month. Questions? So we are supposed to determine whether the polygons are similar. If so, find the scale factor. So if they're similar, their sides are going to be proportional. So we're going to set up proportions with all the sides we know. See if they reduce to give us the same thing. So when I set these up, what do I get? Just the 2 over the 3, right? Then start another one. Those two sides line up, so 2 over 3. Normally you'd have to reduce, but here they're already reduced for you. Are those proportional? Do they equal each other? So yes, these are similar, and then your scale factor is just whatever proportion you got when you reduce. So yes is one answer, and the other answer is 2 over 3, because that's what you got when you reduce the ratios. Questions? So line up the sides. The 8's going to go with the 4. So I have 8 over 4 equals, and then the 5 goes with the 5. 5 over 5. Now on this one you can reduce. 4 goes into 8 and 4, so I'm going to reduce that to 2 over 1. 5 goes into 5 and 5, so I'm going to reduce that to 1 over 1. Are those equal? No, so these are not similar. If it's no, you don't have to find the scale factor. That's it. Questions? All right, we can keep it moving. It's basically the same idea on the next one. We're setting up proportions with the sides. So 9 matches up with 6. So I'm going to do 9 over 6. Equals 12 matches up with x, so 12 over x. Notice I went back to where I started each time I set up a ratio. So if you started on the bigger triangle, you did big over little, you need to do big over little again, okay? So 9 over 6, you can't say x over 12. You can't just willy-nilly pick them and set them up. You have to do it in the same manner. So big over little, big over little, or little over big, little over big. It doesn't really matter as long as you do them the same way. All right, we're going to cross multiply here. 9 times x is 9x 6 times 12 is 72. And then when you divide both sides by 9, you should get 8 for your x value. Alright, we're going to start the next one the same way. So I'm going to just go, it looks like the one on the left is a little smaller. So I'm going to actually do small over big. So 15 over x equals small over big, x over 12. Cross multiply, you get 180 equals 10x. So what's x going to equal? 18. Very good. Questions? Alright, for number 32, we're going to start it in a very similar way. We're going to set up some ratios, set them equal, and solve the proportion. Again, wherever you start or however you set up the first one, that's how you need to set up the second one as well. So if I start down here by the P and I go this way, I have to go this way on the other one, okay? So I'm going to do 32 over 16. I went this way. I got to go back to the P and then go along this side in the same fashion. So that's going to be x over 12. Alright, we can cross multiply. We have 32 times 12. 384. Equals 16 times x, that's 16x. When you divide both sides by 16, what do you come up with for your x? 24. Very good. So again, the key here is however you set it up once, set it up again that way. So if you start with the 32 to the 16, go to the one across from the 32, that's the x, x over 12. Questions? Alright, number 33, this is the median of the, the mid segment of the triangle. The mid segment is related to this side, how? If this is 16, what's this one? It's always half the size, so it's going to be 8. Good. Now, be aware, I could give it to you in reverse. Tomorrow I could give you a triangle and have the 8 labeled and ask you for the bigger one, okay? In which case you just multiply it by 2. So you need to be able to go back and forth. This one is always twice as long as this one. So if I give you the bigger one, you divide by 2. If I give you the littler one, you multiply by 2. Questions? All right. Next we have just a couple questions on dilations. The main thing to remember is that the one with the prime is the new one. So the first question says, is it a reduction or an enlargement? You need to know which one's the new one. The new one has the primes. So the P prime, R prime, Q prime, that's the new triangle. This littler one, the PRQ, that's the old triangle. So did the triangle get bigger or smaller? Bigger. So is it a reduction or an enlargement? Enlargement. Good. Again, look at where the primes are. Prime, prime, prime. That's obviously bigger than your original one. If it's getting bigger, it's an enlargement. Now, the scale factor is kind of tricky. You need to make sure you have CP prime over CP. We want the new one on top. If you're like, there's no way I'm ever going to remember that, look back to the first page, number 7. Everyone flip back to their definitions real quick. It gives you the definition. It says the ratio of CP prime over CP. So if you're like, I just can't remember which one comes first, look back at the clues that are there for you in your test. It tells you which one goes first. It tells you that CP prime has to go first. All right? So I want the distance from C to P prime. What is that distance? Right up here. 22. Good. And then C to P is just 10. Now, anytime you find scale factor, you do want to reduce. They're both even numbers, so you can divide them both by 2. So 11 over 5 is your scale factor. What questions do you guys have? Your test is tomorrow. Remember, you don't have a quiz grade in the grade book for this chapter. So this is like the one big grade for Chapter 7. So you want to make sure that you do well. Any questions?